Tesla continues to change the automobile game, and now this company is putting into action its revolutionary Giga Press around the globe. If you haven't heard of the Giga Press, just think of a massive machine that can make a car frame all by itself. Will the Giga Press really make a huge difference for this automaker? How much edge over the competition would Tesla have with the Giga Press in every factory? Keep watching to find out the answers to these important questions. From this video, you'll learn all about Tesla's latest secret weapon and exactly how it works in the manufacturing process. You'll also have a good idea of what Tesla could possibly achieve in the next few years. So let's get into the video. Every other day, Tesla is in the news for some latest innovation or new technology that other automobile manufacturers have not been able to dive into just yet. So is it really surprising that this company is already talking about gigapresses? While most companies are stuck with traditional methods of car manufacturing, Tesla has huge gigapresses in its factories. These machines are large enough to dwarf your average sized apartment. But what exactly is a gigapress? Well, this is one of the most powerful die casting machines ever built. Weighing more than 400 tons and with a capacity of 61 kilonewtons, one massive gigapress would need more than 20 flatbed trucks to get transported from one point to another. When you take a moment to imagine this, you realize just how mind-blowing the size of one gigapress is, standing at 20 meters by 7.5 meters by 6 meters. Credit for the manufacture of the gigapress goes to an Italian manufacturing group known as Idra. But this is not the first time that Idra and Tesla have worked together. Several reports point to the fact that they have multiple orders that are yet to be fulfilled. And yes, we know you would have noticed that the name Gigapress complements Tesla's Gigafactory. Well, that's no coincidence. Credit for this name goes to none other than Idra. The Gigapress is Tesla's ultimate tool for making the chassis of all its vehicles in a single piece. So while other automakers deal with more than 100 parts during the manufacturing process, Tesla deals with just 3. That makes all the difference. Tesla needs to stand out in style instead of the bolting and welding process that the auto industry has had to rely on since forever. Actually, a gigapress is just like any other die casting machine. So why all the fuss about it? Well, it involves the use of a plunger to transfer hot molten metal into a reusable mold, just like most die casting machines. But the major difference here is the scale at which it does this. Don't understand this yet? Well, let's give you a bigger picture. Imagine what goes into the making of a plastic toy car. For the cheaper ones, the manufacturer would create a single solid piece before tackling the tires. Picture this, but this time for the whole chassis of a car made from metal. That means that it would take a maximum of 3 pieces to put this together, joined by a battery pack structure. Using a gigapress to make a vehicle chassis takes place in various stages. First is the preparation step that involves spraying soybean oil into the mold. The oil makes it easy to remove the finished chassis so that the mold can be easily reusable. If this process is not smooth enough, the mold becomes useless. Then, the next step is to melt the metal with a furnace external to the gigapress. There's one more thing you should know about what goes into making Tesla's chassis. They use a combination of aluminum and silicone, which makes it an alloy that melts at about 850 degrees Celsius. Up next is forcing the right amount of melted alloy into the mold using a plunger after it is cooled down to 400 degrees Celsius. Then the mold opens and the chassis is moved into a pool of water by a robot where it cools more to 50 degrees Celsius. Stay with us, this is the final step, and that's the checking of the chassis for defects and rough edges before the robots get to work on drilling all the required holes. That sounds like a lot of work, but using a gigapress has reduced the manufacturing process significantly compared to the traditional methods common with other automakers. Buying and installing a gigapress is no walk in the park. It requires a lot of space for installation and huge investments. However, for Tesla to commit to investing in gigapresses, they must have seen the obvious benefits of having them around. There's no sugarcoating it actually. Gigapress is a major game changer in the auto industry, and you're about to find out just how much. Let's start with one of its biggest advantages, which is speed. Despite its huge size, a gigapress works very fast. It can take less than 100 seconds for the aluminum silicone alloy to go from molten metal to chassis. Compare this to all the other steps in the process of fabrication and fastening hundreds of parts together. You'll realize that this is a blistering speed. Thanks to the Giga Press, Tesla has been able to manufacture more cars compared to other automakers. This was confirmed by JP Morgan when they visited a Tesla factory to see a Giga Press in action. It's no surprise that they came back impressed by how efficient this machine was in making the manufacturing process easier than ever. They did some quick math using a cycle time of about 5 minutes. JP Morgan was able to estimate that one factory with 10 gigapresses running continuous shifts can comfortably produce at least 350,000 Model Y chassis within a year. According to observers, the gigapresses at the Fremont factory can complete the job in less than 200 seconds despite still being in the process of optimization. What this means is that a new factory can easily make as much as 100,000 units within a year with how impressive these machines are. How many times have you heard of automobile factories producing this kind of heavy numbers? It's basically unheard of in this world, and Tesla is the architect of this feat. Tesla plans to make at least 750,000 vehicles this year, and its not-so-secret weapon is the Giga Press. So far, this machine is in about 4 of the existing Tesla factories, so you can guess that making more than 1 million vehicles within a year is quite possible. And we've talked about just one of the numerous advantages of the Giga Press. This machine also helps in saving a lot in terms of operational costs. So while a lot goes into the initial investment on this machine, it's useful in bringing down the cost of production per vehicle. Let's analyze this for a minute. With just one gigapress, this machine is able to take over the tasks of about 300 robots. While most factories have to rely on robots to handle the coupling and heavy lifting, Tesla is having none of that when there's a single gigapress to do this smoothly. And while the machine itself is huge, it still cuts down on about 30% of space requirements that would have been taken over by robots. Then, the all-around need for fewer robots and even lesser space means that the maintenance budget also goes down. With Tesla, anything is possible, and that includes being able to buy electric cars at affordable prices. Right now, electric cars are seen as exclusive automobiles due to their steep price, but that's all about to change with how well Tesla is able to avoid the heavy logistics of making more than 100 automobile parts in different locations. Elon Musk is pretty serious about making cheaper electric cars, and this looks possible since his army of gigapresses reduces the cost of making a chassis by at least 40%. Now we know that making 25,000 electric cars is not such an impossible task after all. Tesla has already made moves to set up its research and production facilities in China, which will also help in making affordable cars. With single-piece chassis, manufacturers don't have to worry about the defects that affect cars with welded and bolted parts. Weak joints? Misaligned parts? None of that over here. The summary of this is that Tesla has found cheaper and faster ways to make structurally efficient cars that will give competitors a run for their money. If Tesla continues with its current pace, there's no catching up with them, even in a decade. Already, this automobile company has placed more orders for gigapresses from Idra, which will most likely be used in its semi-trucks and Cybertrucks. The company is also scaling up its plants to accommodate this huge change. Although Cadillac, Audi, and BMW were the first set of automakers to employ castings, none of them have done this at a mega level like Tesla is doing today. We don't know how the rest of the industry will catch up with Tesla, but there's no ruling them out completely just yet. So while Tesla still has a high chance of holding on to its edge, for now, JP Morgan predicts that new startups which are fast enough to adapt to changes may stand a chance of following Tesla's lead. And if you enjoyed this video, we have another like it on Elon Musk revealing the revolutionary Tesla tank, a military-grade Cybertruck of the future.